Clay, I'm going to open this episode of our podcast asking you a trivia question. What's Boimler's first name?
Bradward.
Bradward. Did you learn that this episode as well, or would you have known that if I'd have asked you last time we recorded about this?
No, I think I knew that.
Okay. I thought his name was like...
Yeah.
I didn't think it was Bradward. I thought it was like Bradley or something. I was struck when they said Bradward. I was like, are they making fun of his name, or is that his actual name? But his name is Bradward, I guess. Bradward Boimler.
Yeah. I remembered it because it is a very strange name.
Yeah.
It's not Bradford.
No, or Bradley or anything like
Bradley,
that. It's Bradward. Yeah. Bradward Boimler. Yeah. I don't have anything else trivia related, but I'm glad you got that. Can you get all of their names?
Bradward Boimler, Beckett Mariner. I can't do Tendi and Rutherford. They said Tendi says Rutherford's name,
yes,
in one of these episodes, but I didn't hear it.
Can I actually? Where's the cast list? There it is. Does it say? It does. So it's Sam Rutherford, which is less strange than I remember it being. I thought it was a weirder name.
So did I.
And Tendi is Devana Tendi.
Devana, yes. Beckett also says that in one of these episodes as well, yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to be talking about 2 episodes of Lower Decks, as we want to do. We're going to be talking about An Embarrassment of Dooplers, the first one. It's the 5th episode of the 2nd season of Lower Decks. It came out on September 9th, 2021. Written by David Ihlenfeld, I guess, and David Wright. Directed by Kim Arndt. In-universe date is 58053.92381. And this one, Mariner and Boimler try to track down the location of a legendary Pokemon Starfleet party while a bridge crew deals with an insecure alien diplomat. The next one is called...
Legendary Pokemon?
I inserted Pokemon into that. That was a joke.
Oh.
The second one is The Spy Humongous, which is the 6th episode of the 2nd season of Lower Decks. Came out on September 16th, 2021. Written by John Cochran, Survivor champion, and directed by Bob Suarez. And universe date 58105.12381. In this one, written by Survivor champion John Cochran. An anomaly consolidation day on the USS Cerritos leaves the lower deckers with mixed emotions. Captain Freeman attempts to negotiate peace on the Pakled homeworld. Cochran was one of my... Did you ever watch Survivor? Cochran was my favorite champion of Survivor, actually.
I did not. I've never watched a single episode of Survivor.
Survivor's... Yeah,
in all 30-something seasons.
Yeah.
It might be more than that at this point.
It's very good. He's a very nerdy guy, but he managed to win this competition, which relies a great deal on athletic prowess and things like that. But he played an excellent political game. Anyway, Embarrassment of Dooplers and A Spy Humongous. General thoughts about these ones? Do you want to lead this off?
Sure. I thought they were pretty good. I think the second one was probably a little bit more well-rounded as story. I think it's still in this weird, I mean, it's just the way that they do the show where they have 3 plots that are running instead of 2 plots that are running, and I feel like there's always one of the plots is a little bit lagging behind. In the second episode, I felt like the stuff on the Pakled planet was a little bit, whatever. But the other 2 stories I thought were pretty good. In the first one, was there only really 2 stories? I guess there's technically 3 stories. There's 3 stories running in the first one. I didn't think the first one was really breaking any new ground, but I think it ends with enough heart that I enjoyed it. And I don't think I've ever not enjoyed a Richard Kind performance. Yeah. So
he's underutilized.
I enjoyed him.
I would say he's not. I don't know how I felt about these 2. I thought they were fine. I guess I didn't find either of them particularly funny at all, which was kind of a problem.
Yeah, they had. I think they had their moments. I think they kind of. I felt like both of them dialed back on the rapid fire referencing quite a bit. Or maybe I just wasn't getting them. I don't know. But it felt like.
I thought the second one was fairly reference heavy. It ends with the Armus joke and stuff like that. A lot of it's hidden.
That's true. If all of that stuff that they were looking, all those like things they were going to throw away, or if those were all references, I didn't get them.
Yeah,
But,
I don't think they were. Kyle on Discord mentioned that they seem more generic sci-fi tropey stuff than anything that's Star Trekky, which has been kind of a trend of the show recently.
Yeah, but I didn't find that stuff distracting even when they were doing it. The dune buggy chase was a little whatever for me, but I did enjoy the Data bubble bath situation.
Yeah, his bubble bath bottles.
Are the Dooplers? Is that a new invention for this show?
I think so.
I assume it is, right?
Yeah.
I don't, it seemed like it was it was very much like a Tribbles situation.
Yes, with people. Yeah, it's voiced by Richard Kind, obviously. It's I think that I think that one reason that I don't jive super hard with the show, besides the fact that I didn't think that these two were particularly funny, is that I don't is there I was trying to think of a way to relate this. Is there a stand-up comedian that you like that you don't think is particularly clever? Do you know what I mean? Is there a comedian that you would say, this is a great comedian, but you're not these are very clever jokes that he's telling? It's just kind of
I have no idea.
I think that my problem with this, to make it more of a Rick and Morty analogy, is I don't find their humor particularly clever. And I don't find it I'm not wow, that's a really interesting or funny thing that they chose to do with a Star Trek trope. And I feel like the Dooplers were a good example of that, which is that there's this kind of core of an idea about it's impossible to placate a very neurotic person. No matter what you do, the neurotic person is going to be neurotic. And this sci-fi trope, they just double at that point. It causes a problem that way. But I thought that for a character actor like Richard Kind to come in, I was expecting more better jokes along those lines, really. It just never struck me as this is a really thoughtful, funny idea that's going on. It's just the concept is if he gets upset, he doubles. And the joke is that everything gets him upset and he doubles all the time. But I never felt like it moved to this next level, which is either some kind of commentary on something, or it's a clever trick that happens, or it's something kind of it spirals into a way that you're not really anticipating that the joke is going to go. It just kind of goes along that path. And I feel that a lot of Lower Decks humor is like that. I don't walk away going, oh, I never would have thought of that with how they tied a Star Trek thing into a joke. It's all kind of yeah, okay, that does that, that does that, does that. And it leaves me feeling just I don't really ever sink into the episode because I'm never on the edge of my seat going, how is this going to break down, really? And I find myself just going okay, yep, okay, there we go. And it's not a great criticism of it, but it's something that the show does. It just never... I was trying to think of what the highest level joke that they've done is so far, and I'm not sure what it would be. Nothing really pops off the top of my head like that. Almost I would have said last season for the second episode here, inverting the Pakleds, making the Pakleds this incredible threat, even though they're the idiots from the TNG stuff. That was kind of clever. But in the second one, they seem to be continuing. The Pakleds are going to be the villains of this series, and I don't know if that humor works any longer than one episode of an appearance,
Yeah. I don't have any history with the Pakleds outside of this show, so I don't really know. But the as far as the way they portray them in this episode, it would be. It seems like they've only got one kind of thing that they do with them.
They were idiots.
These
in
two,
the TNG.
I didn't.
In the TNG episode, they're just idiots. That's their characteristic as a species. So it was kind of cute to make them be a great threat in the first season, but here. It's typical dumb person humor. It's it's off the king is dead, long live the king. When that guy knocks down the other guy and takes his crown and is I'm the leader now. It's that kind of stupid humor.
Yeah. I actually I I liked the character work in these two more than I thought they were super funny. And I think what this show does well is that I think they're good enough writers to boost that stuff up when maybe the laughs aren't coming a mile a minute. Because like I thought the story with Boimler and Mariner in the first episode was nice, and I thought the story with Tendi and Rutherford was nice. And in the second one, I thought the story that they were doing with again with Boimler splitting off and going with the red shirts and the Tendi trying to get the group together to do this menial task. I thought that stuff was all good. I like that stuff. I think the problem is just that they have so much going on. Like they have 3 stories. So like I said, one's always going to get short shrift. And so in the first episode, you lose time that you could spend with Richard Kind because he's just kind of there for a one-note joke. So that one ends up getting pushed to the background as just sort of like the catalyst for everything else that's going on.
Yeah, it's true. In the first one, I would have spent more time with the Doopler character because I liked the opening scene where they're all eating dinner with him and they're very anxious not to upset him because it'll cause something to happen. I feel you can mind that a little bit. Like I feel there's comedy in that of not upsetting this alien because something is going to happen. It's kind of a Tribble spin, but it's like less of a Gremlins take on Tribbles and more of like a social dinner party type situation. But they don't stick with it. I mean, a lot of people complain that the pace and the jokes are kind of rapid fire. I think that my biggest problem with the multitude of plots and the pace of everything is that it does kind of wash over me in a sense. Like I never feel, because they don't settle on jokes or they don't sit with a joke for very long, I kind of watch it just going like, all right, when are they going to get to the plot beat or whatever that matters, that is going to be the key of the episode. And so a lot of it I feel just passes me by because I don't think that they're sitting with the comedy enough. I don't know. It might just been these 2 episodes, but I feel there's space to exist. Maybe, and it might be personal preference because I enjoy comedies that generally sit with situations over ones that are kind of like joke a minute type stuff. But I don't know. Might just be personal preference.
Yeah, I think the one thing that they could benefit from, and I think we've talked about this before, is there isn't a lot of times that second gear that these jokes move into. Like if you've got the Doopler joke, and that's just the joke. That's it. That's the joke that runs through the whole episode. You've got the Rutherford trying to figure out how Shrax died, and that's the whole joke. Yeah. You know, it never clicks into a second gear. Like if a joke has a 3-act structure, it always feels like these jokes only have 2 acts. Yeah. They never have that third turn, at least for these longer ones. Because I mean, a lot of the like passing jokes they're fine, they're whatever. But these jokes that they're kind of hinging plot lines on, a lot of times jokes don't have. Yeah, I will say I think the narrative joke in the second episode here, the Spy Humongous, actually does have a nice turn to it, where after all is said and done, arguing it or with Boimler deciding to not be part of the red shirt crew, when the dude finally gets the acting captain's job, he's there for 30 seconds and then Shrax tells him to go clean up some puke or something. Like that's the kind of thing that I think is missing in some of these jokes. Yeah.
I also like the Spy Humongous one, just Boimler knowing how to cause Tendi to laugh or whatever the hell he was trying to do.
Yeah,
I thought it was cute enough. That's kind of a funny, less serious Lower Decks thing. The repetition.
I really liked when there was the crisis started. All of the red shirts started doing a monologue at the same time.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, and I now it's just reminding me of all the references, like his little acting like Riker thing, where he sits like Riker in the chair and stuff like that. It's got all that kind of stuff in the second episode. Yeah, I don't know. I sort of like I'm always scared of these. Not scared, but I'm always reticent about these podcasts because I still have a hard time figuring out what to talk about with Lower Decks. Really, like I don't know what there is. Like the other Star Treks are the other new modern shows are like fuck ups enough where we talk for an hour about all the things that have gone wrong. And Lower Decks, I'm kind of wondering if Lower Decks is even a show that I'm super interested in. Really, like it's. I don't know if it has the legs, and the second season hasn't improved enough to make it feel like it wasn't something that was just kind of a mini-series special event thing that they wanted to do. Because as you were saying, even though I've been complaining about the character work and the lack of it leading up to this, these episodes do have character work in it, but it still doesn't hit me in the way that other better animated shows do this stuff, I think. And I actually feel like, oh, this is kind of cute or heartwarming, or I feel like the characters actually exist in a real place. I don't know. This one just it doesn't ever get there for me. Just too bad.
I think it's interesting because for a show that is kind of like stretching the boundaries of what you can get away with in a Star Trek show, they kind of are hampered by the fact that, so this is like the pedigree of the show is Rick and Morty, right? Like the creative team and even the animation is kind of similar. A lot of the jokes are similar, and like it has the same kind of structure or feel to a lot of those Rick and Morty episodes.
Same energy as everything.
Yeah, and you've got these writers who do have the ability to write these characters that with moments of like that are heartwarming and show real character. The problem is Rick and Morty is not. There's no restrictions from Rick and Morty just like plumbing the depths of how awful or great a person can be. And like they have their best episodes when they just like pull the rug out right from under all of the characters. And I think this show is not in the structure, in the framework of Star Trek. You don't really have the ability to do that. And I don't know if I'd want them to a certain extent, because like, do I really want to watch a Star Trek show where everybody's just awful and like secretly hates their life? Like on Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty occupies a very specific space.
Or this would just be accused of being a Rick and Morty ripoff. Really, at that point, it's a themed Rick and Morty show.
Yeah, but I think there's probably. What you're seeing is the limitations of that kind of style in the Star Trek framework. Because I do like the characters a lot. I think they do a lot of fun stuff with it. But I would agree that there's always something kind of missing from making the stories really land in a really good way. But that being said, I do enjoy the show. Yeah. I think it's a good time. It's a good half-hour Star Trek comedy.
Yeah, it sounds like you like it more than I do. I guess my question is, we always talked about like Discovery. If Discovery was not themed Star Trek, right? If it was an independent IP show, we'd be like, I wouldn't watch the show after the first couple episodes. But the reason we continued to watch it was because it was a Star Trek. It's the theme of the podcast and everything. If this was not themed Star Trek, would you think more or less of the show? I think it's almost the opposite for me. Like, if this was not a Star Trek show, I'd be like, well, I don't know if it's the opposite, but I wouldn't. I think I put a lot of stock in the fact that this is Star Trek, and I think that this would take possibly an even worse dive quality-wise if it was not Star Trek. You know what I mean? Like, Discovery, if I took it away, I'd be like, this is just a terrible TV show. But if they stripped away the Star Trek aspect, including like the references that they can make in this show, I'd be like, this isn't a very good show, really. This is not a very funny show.
Yeah, I think what you're doing there though is then you would be taking away sort of the framework limitations that I'm talking about, and so I think there would be more potential for it to be a different better show.
Okay.
But if it was just a 1-to-1, then yeah, you're coming for the brand and for the jokes being made inside the framework of the brand. So if you take that away, then yeah, it's not going to be great.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think that the Star Trek, I guess it's that saying of like the breadth of an ocean and the depth of a puddle, really. It's like Star Trek has all these references that they can make, but once you make the initial joke, it's much harder work for the show to take that somewhere and do something with it.
Sure.
Like you can make a reference and you can kind of poke fun at the way the Klingons look, or you can make fun of the Pakleds, or you can make fun of, we always do this thing with the tricorder. But once they make the obvious joke or the first layer of the onion gets peeled away, it's not a show that's like, how can you break this even further? How can you really take the concept of a transporter and make it into the basis of an episode that is both funny and kind of like, oh, that's kind of cute that they spun it like that on a Star Trek show. It's much happier to just make the quick joke about the transporter and then run off in a new direction, which is, in a lot of ways, it's like it's familial relationship to the other new modern Trek shows is found there for me. It's the fact that it's like it's not going to sit with something. It's going to breakneck pace go through all this stuff as fast as we can. And I think that that's always damaging for the Discovery and the Picard shows. I think that Lower Decks, it suffers from the humor never becomes clever to me, to get back to that point. It never builds or cascades. The plot lines don't interconnect hardly ever. There's none of that great comedy writing that you see, that things are like, okay, this is all going to build to a point that Seinfeld did and Arrested Development would do all the time and stuff like that. This doesn't have that because it's too fast and the lines can't intersect with each other.
Yeah. I do think it's a little bit unfair to compare Star Trek Lower Decks to two of the greatest sitcom comedies of all time.
They are. It is.
Because they're after very different things, Like this is very much a franchise show, and I think they do a decent job of taking certain elements and building stories out of them. But yeah, I do think they do shuffle through a lot of stuff very quickly. Because like for every 4 or 5 throwaway jokes you get the transporter joke from when they split Boimler in half, which is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it tends to be a shotgun blast full of references, and I don't want that to sound super derogatory, but like, it's a shotgun blast full of references, and some of them strike harder than others.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're making a lot of references, they're making a lot of jokes, but some of them end up being a little bit more fleshed out than others, and it's just, I think, down to just because of the pace of the show that they move so quickly through everything.
I mean, I really liked the second chances joke, but I guess my criticism would be that it felt like it got to a point where the joke was made to allow Boimler to escape and go back to the normal show. Like they cloned him, and that was the reference. And it's one of those sad things, because TNG, like the TNG episode, mines that concept for the whole 45 minutes. And I feel that Lower Decks, I'd almost prefer if they did some kind of like comedic parody of entire episodes. If they took a concept of a TNG episode and really sat with it for a little bit and were like, Second Chances was a really profound meditation on like what your life would be like if you got the chance to live it over again. What if the comedic version of that is just like, hell no, I don't want to do this ever again or something.
Right.
And I that's kind of what I would. I just want that depth. I know I keep repeating myself, but it's like I just feel that would make the show kind of special and more thought-provoking in comedic sense. Like there's just situations that I think could be dug out a little bit deeper, but that's not what the ones are.
Yeah.
Even do it as a one-off. You don't have to do every single episode. Just do one episode that is a Inner Light parody or something like that.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised that they haven't done that at all. And I mean, maybe it's just because it's only into season 2 and they haven't run out of the original
ideas,
structure. Yeah, but like I mean, my favorite episode of the first season was the one that was like pretty much straight up a parody of if I remember correctly, like it was a parody of kind of like the way the movies are structured, where everything was like had a much more grander feel to it. The music was more. I don't remember exactly what the story. It was. I think I don't think it was the season finale, but I think it was like the second to last one or something like that. Where it's it wasn't like a straight story lift parody, but there was the theme of what the jokes they were doing was a lot more concise and related. And yeah, I think the show benefits from doing that kind of stuff. And yeah, I am a little surprised that they haven't done more stuff like that. Yeah, maybe they feel like they haven't gotten it to a place where they can do that consistently or what. I don't know.
Yeah, it might just not be the pedigree of the writing staff. You know, as you were saying, they come from a lineage of this is how comedy is written for the animation sector. It's definitely harder to slow it down. It's harder to... Animation seems to lend itself to quickness in its joke structure.
Well, I think what's kind of ironic about it is that Rick and Morty is very good at that stuff. Mm-hmm. Like they will take a singular concept and just expand that out into an episode and really mine the depths of a concept or a send up of an existing sci-fi trope or something.
Yeah,
they're really good at that. And this hasn't really done that, which is too bad because I do think that there is a lot of material there to do so. Although I do really enjoy prank calls to the muck monster who killed Tasha as well. So
yeah, what's a middling animated comedy show? Because you said that I was comparing it to good sitcoms. So what's a middling animated show? I was trying to think of one. I can't think of any that's like thoroughly average.
I don't watch a ton of them anymore.
Well, everyone I think of seems to be good. It's like South Park, Simpsons.
Yeah,
Family Guy was good. Well, for a while.
Simpsons is now a
now average
cartoon show,
and I haven't seen it, so I can't tell.
I would say, I mean, the few times recently I've watched Family Guy, I felt it was kind of down the middle. American Dad never clicked with me.
That
maybe felt very middling.
American Dad's a good one. The Cleveland show. I guess I don't watch many of them, so it's difficult to compare. That's the problem with all the modern Star Treks, though, is that it's like I don't watch enough TV to be like familiar with what middling TV is, because I wait for the critical consensus to be like, watch this show because it's worth your time. Right. And then I watch it. Right. So I don't sit there watching NCIS and being like, this is incredibly average television.
Man, I'll tell you though, like I can't get over that Picard trailer, how much it felt like it was a trailer for the next season of NCIS. Yeah. Like it has the exact same feel to it.
Yeah.
Like if you watch
Dollies under cars.
Yeah, if you watch stuff, Fox shows from like the mid '90s, they all have the exact same look to them.
Yep.
Like the camera work is exactly the same. You can just tell when you're watching a Fox show, and I feel like you can tell when you're watching a CBS show.
Yeah,
and Discovery avoids it for the most part because it takes place in space. Mostly,
it's 1,000 years in the other direction from 2000.
But as soon as you send Picard to the 21st century, it just looks like, well, here comes David Caruso.
Yeah. Yep.
Was in the Doopler episode when they're driving through the space station, was the guy in the Christopher Pike chair supposed to be Alex Kurtzman?
Yeah, it's Kurtzman.
Yeah. Is there a joke there, or is it just hey, that's him?
I think it's just this is his picture. I don't.
Yeah.
I saw some people saying that it was kind of a dig at him, but I don't see that. This is not like early Simpsons making fun of Fox type stuff. It's not. It's not South Park making fun of Comedy Central or anything. It's just seems like it's an homage to have him in there. What was the other episode we thought was making fun of the modern, the Boimler one where he's on the Titan, he's making fun of the way Star Trek is. I'm still not convinced that's what's happening. I think that the way that I want that to be is maybe feeding into the way that I'm viewing that humor. I don't think the show is as cynical as that. But that is supposed to be Kurtzman. Well, looks like him anyway.
Part of me hopes that with all of the other stuff that's going on, Lower Decks is kind of like the show that nobody's paying attention to what they're doing.
Based on our YouTube views, that's exactly what it is. I feel that no one's watching it this year.
Yeah, I mean, from like a production standpoint, where it's
it's the DS9
they're focused on
of the family. No one cares about it, so it can do what it wants.
Yeah, they're focused on Discovery, and they got Strange New Worlds coming out, and they got to do season 2 of Picard, and then they got this Nickelodeon thing that's happening. So Lower Decks just kind of occupies its own little nook, and nobody's really paying too much attention to what they're doing. I hope that's the case, and if it is, I hope they explore it more.
I hope they start taking advantage of the fact that no one cares about it. Yeah, because I think that's what having that sort of freedom of oversight, I think, would be very beneficial to them. Yeah. I think just based on just our YouTube numbers and podcast numbers, which is not a metric of anything particularly, but it's only a metric of itself. People are much less interested in Lower Decks than virtually every other show that we do.
Really? Did we make a mistake? Should we be doing Discovery
probably
instead
if our eyes were on the bottom line, that would be the case. I think you would not cover Lower Decks, and you would cover the other shows. Yeah, I'm not interested in that. Like, honestly, I don't. If Lower Decks is coming back for a third season, I don't know. Like, is it worth? I don't know if it's worth covering it. Really, it's not that. It's not a series that demands it.
Seeing as we've been going for about 33 minutes and we kind of have run out of stuff to talk about and have already spent multiple minutes talking about whether or not we should talk about it at all.
And Picard. and the Picard,
yeah. This is turning into an episode of Badass here.
Yeah.
Do you have any stories about driving too fast through a school zone you want to talk about?
I would draw the Doopler duplicating scene because I could just copy paste, Control V.
I'll tell you, I've never been good at drawing interior hallways, sci-fi hallways, because there's so much stuff, and you have to think about the perspective of all of it, right?
Right.
Because they've all got like these shapes on the walls, and some of them have the cut corners because futuristic. If you want to make something futuristic, cut the corners off it, turn it into a octagon, and then it immediately reads as futuristic for some reason.
I know.
And that stuff can get difficult if you have to map out the perspective. It's very hard.
Clay, I didn't think I was going to bring this up, but I was doing 85 and a 30 the other day, and I hit a kid. I killed him. He's dead. Hopefully his parents don't listen to this podcast, but he's fucking dead. I hit him real good. I actually have a hard time remembering the plots that happen. I'm if people are watching my eyes on the YouTube video, I am clicking back and forth between the memory alpha entries to remind myself what happens in the episodes. You didn't like the Pakleds in the second. I think we talked about the Dooplers enough. Just because it was stupid? Like, just because it didn't...
I mean, it's not that I didn't like them. I just thought that was the storyline. The on the planet, anyway, was the storyline that I felt suffered the most, because it was just sort of like... it was the one joke where it was nobody... There's always somebody else in charge, and then when they get to the person who's in charge, they're all kind of idiots, and then a revolution starts. I don't know. It just didn't really do anything for me.
I was shocked by how the ending joke of, why don't you tell us what we did, you didn't steal, or what? Like the it was such an obvious turn. I was like, wow, I can't believe that worked on them, because it's that's the only way that joke could go. I was surprised that they wrapped it up with just they lied to them about. Why don't you tell us what you stole from us so that we can know about it? And they're like, okay, here we go. This is the thing we did. It's like, wow, that was extremely predictable. I couldn't imagine that going any other way.
Yeah. I did like the button on the end of it, though, where after they leave, the Emperor turns to the spy and says, congratulates him for defeating Janeway.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
And like I was surprised they didn't do more with the guy on the ship, but at the same time, I also kind of enjoyed that he disappeared and then he ended up floating outside.
Yeah, with a t-shirt on.
Yeah. But yeah, it was fine. I was more interested in the stuff with the lower decks guys. Like I liked the red shirt group. I thought they were kind of fun. I kept waiting for some sort of
that was the Doopler
ulterior
joke.
motive.
That was I was like, I wish the red shirts had more. I wish there was more here because I think this is the best concept joke that they have in the entire episode.
Yeah, I liked them, but I kept waiting for the next gear of what the next story turn, and whether it was they were going to have some sort of ulterior motive or if they were just setting up Boimler for some sort of fall or something. Like, it was nice. It was nice that it was an excuse to show what Boimler is actually good at as far as relating to people.
Yeah.
But it seemed like they were missing something, some sort of motive or next secondary action. Other than just, no, they're just legitimately trying to figure out what the best way to become captains are.
Yeah, captain, yeah.
Because, like, it felt really suspicious, right?
Yes.
Immediately. Like, that always feels suspicious when it's like, yeah, why don't you come over here and join this group and tell us all about Riker? Like, it seems like they're setting you up for something.
Yes, yeah.
But I did like the end of that one, though. I did like the end of that story, like I said.
The ending joke of the guy on the bridge, yeah.
Yeah, the last couple jokes, like where they all come in and they all start spouting off inspirational monologues, and then the joke of him being on the bridge, I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah,
but yeah, I wish there was something a little bit more in that story.
Yeah, just on the
from their end anyway.
A structure level, I liked the introduction to them because I felt that they got rid of all the obvious jokes. They sort of burned through them, and I was like, oh, they're going to do something with this now because it is obvious. Yeah. But I did like the joke of like, they're like, we're the red shirts, we're invincible. It's just kind of a funny like catchphrase for those guys to have. And as you're saying,
I like that they didn't belabor the red shirt joke too much.
No, they just got it out of the way. They did it right away, and we're like, that's the joke, and just move on.
Yeah.
With this. So that was what I was thinking they were going to move into something. It reminded me strongly of, remember the I think you did the episode, the Valiant DS9 episode, the one where Jake and Nog find that ship full of kids that is trying to like win the war against the Dominion, and they get blown up at the end.
Yeah.
So it's like vaguely. A ship full of kids. Their commanding officers were killed or something. Yeah.
Yes, I do remember that, yes.
It reminded me a little bit of that. I thought there was going to be a little bit more of like a tragedy to the ending of it, but that wasn't the way that this went. But as you're saying, and as we've been saying, I kept waiting for the red shirts to be put in a position where they had to actually be in command or something. Like, it felt like it was like, well, it's waiting for them to actually become the thing that they want to be, and it will backfire on them, but it doesn't. It does at the ending button joke.
Yeah, I guess it kind of, the closest they get is that moment when they all just start making speeches and none of them actually takes any action.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's probably something else you do with them before you get to that point, but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. Spy Humongous. Is this how you spell humongous? Or is this a pun on human?
How's it spelled?
It is. Humongous. So I thought it's not, humongous is not Humung. It's humongous. And that's apparently spelled correctly.
That might be too many layers in that sandwich.
Well, I thought there was going to be a Ferengi appearance in this one, but there is absolutely not.
A lot of play to the Quark franchise in this season.
Yeah.
Apparently he's a bar. He has a franchise bar system, and he also makes models of starships.
Oh, he made their model? Is that where they got that from?
In the corner of the box it said Quarks on it. Okay. I did really like, I think probably my favorite joke in the first episode was when they get to the space station and Mariner says she used to live here. She points to the Quarks and she goes, "Oh, they got a Quarks. That used to just be an empty lot where kids would make mistakes, where kids could go to make mistakes or something." Which is just it's just such a good joke because it's a space station.
Yeah.
So like an empty parking lot wouldn't exist.
Is Quark capable of this level of success? Quark's a bad businessman, isn't he?
My theory is that Quark long ago had minimal franchise success and then sold his name.
So he trumped
for
it
the
up.
for the quick buck, and now he is no longer involved with the conglomerate that his name.
He just takes a cut. He takes 5% of every brand deal or something.
He might have been bought out. Like maybe Rom and Lita bought him out.
Because at end of DS9, Quark is still just on the station, right? He still has his bar just on the station. Rom becomes the Nagus and everything. Quark was good at the shady bad deals, but he's not taking over the world with his business acumen, I don't think.
How did you feel about Okana being the DJ at the party?
It was okay. It's fine.
Yeah.
There's another Shelby's in that episode too. Lieutenant the Borg, Best of Both Worlds woman commander, who challenges Riker.
Oh, was one of the guys supposed to be Jellicoe? Is Jellicoe Ronnie Cox?
Yeah.
Was one of the people there supposed to be him?
Probably was.
Or is he
drawn like him?
Is he disgraced or something? I don't remember where that story ends.
No, he's not disgraced. The crew kind of. No, he leaves on good terms with everybody, and he's okay. He doesn't do anything wrong. Yeah.
I think one of them might have supposed to have been Jellicoe
because
like he talked. He's drawn like him, and he had that sort of Ronnie Cox like slight.
Oh, I didn't even realize
cowboy accent.
Yeah.
I think he did. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I think he had like a couple lines or something.
I don't have anything else to say about this one, unless there are these two. Unless you do.
I really enjoyed the giant screaming orange slug. It was an easy joke, but I thought it was
funny. Anytime something screams like that, it's kind of funny.
It always works.
I guess we're done then. It's a short episode. It's Lower Decks, Dooplers, and Spy Humongous. The next couple episodes, do we have a title for them? I think we do.
How many do we have left?
4, so we have 2 podcasts worth of it.
Yeah, okay.
Where pleasant fountains lie, and then that's all we know. They haven't told us the next episode's name.
What is our plan? Are we covering Picard? We are, right?
Picard, not Discovery. So
not
Discovery is first, I think.
This is going to be the one season that Discovery is like really good.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Have you seen that trailer? That trailer's garbage.
I would be. Should we do the premiere? Should we just do the premiere and just to reaffirm the fact that we're making the right decision?
No, once we do it, then everyone will be like, well, you have to continue now, and I'll be miserable and pissed off about it. I know people are going to try to tell me that it got better, but it's not going to happen. If like Zach Handlen starts writing like, oh my God, the series has rectified itself. If I'm reading AV Club reviews and they're like, everything that was wrong has been fixed in Discovery, I will consider going back and doing it. But when I see another C from Zach review and then another C and then another C, I go, there's nothing that's changed in the series whatsoever.
That's fair.
Picard. This is the last season of Picard we'll give a chance. Unless they say that Picard, as they've been saying from the start, is only going to be 3 seasons. Then I'll be like, well, if we watch 2, I might as well watch the last one and see how they close it out. But Discovery could go for another 20 years. That's
God willing.
That's it for Star Trek Lower Decks. We got a couple episodes coming up next. We got Enterprise. We're alternating. And, I kind of want to just finish Enterprise, honestly. I just want to get through it and be like, we're done with Enterprise. Did
you listen to any of that Bob Saget interview with Bakula?
Just the clip that I saw. I retweeted the clip, but I didn't listen to any of the actual thing. Did he talk about? Did you listen? He's apparently all over the place because Quantum Leap is going to be rebooted, or he's claiming that's the case.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Sure. I mean, if you're going to reboot Quantum Leap, one of the first episodes is he leaps into Bakula's body, right? Whoever it is that they they
the new
take
leaper.
over. Yeah.
I would have to imagine that would be the case. I never watched that show. I was reading the synopsis of the finale, and it sounded kind of sad to me. I don't. Did you ever? Did you know that
vaguely.
show?
I never really watched it. I vaguely remember knowing how it ends.
He never gets to go home. He just keeps leaping, and it just like it ends on that note of like he's just going to keep going. And maybe that's hopeful, maybe that's sad at the same time. I was a little bit surprised. It's one of those. It was a network show that wasn't aware it was going to be canceled. So they wrote like a sort of generic ending and see what happens. And
it's not like ALF.
Right.
Where it ends in a cliffhanger with him getting captured by the United States government. Or Dinosaurs, which is literally ends with the Ice Age showing up, murder and killing everybody.
How many seasons of ALF were there? Like 2, probably?
Great question. That's a tough one. Yeah, I feel like that might either be a couple seasons or maybe like 7 or something.
Yeah, it's one of those 2. It could be. I would be shocked by either one because I feel like there were a million different ALF seasons, but there's probably only 13 episodes of ALF. There's 4.
4 seasons, 102 episodes.
Wow, maybe that's more than I thought.
That makes sense because 100 episodes is the threshold for syndication.
Yeah, for syndication money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even the creator ran out of gas in the end of the first season. He's like, we got to keep pumping out ALF episodes, guys. How many cats can this thing eat?
The first question on Google, how they have like questions you can click on now. It says, why did ALF get canceled? And the answer is ALF was canceled because of what it was about. Since the alien could only interact with members of his own family, there was a limited number of storylines that writers could create with that small cast of characters. ALF could never go out, so it made things very difficult.
Just because he's an alien that can't be seen, I'm assuming? Is that the reason?
Yeah, he could never leave the house. So how many stories can you tell where he does not leave the house?
It's true. It's very true. Maybe we'll do ALF on a podcast instead of Lower Decks. ALF. What a crazy show.
What a product of, there was a certain period in all media across time where it's like you could just throw anything out there and it would become a hit. Like it happened in the mid 90s with comics where like even the dumbest books were selling like 500,000 copies every month.
Of the 80s, doing garbage and getting paid for it.
And you got the syndication era, sitcom era of the 80s, and you've got ALF or was it Little Wonder, the one about the girl,
Little Wonder,
the 12-year-old girl who was a robot.
Her father built her at stole her from a factory or something.
Yeah,
and turned her into a maid.
Yeah, you could just give it a shot.
Yeah,
a TV show all about how Charles is in charge.
Yep.
Of what? It depends.
Who's the boss? Who can tell? Who can tell who the boss is? There's probably only one season of Who's the Boss too, but I feel like I saw a billion episodes.
I bet there's. I'm gonna say 5.
I'll say 6. I'll do Price is Right rules.
Great episode of the show we're doing here. 8.
8. That's a lot. Was Tony Danza in all seasons?
I think so.
Was Mona in all seasons? Mona.
Let's see. This is what people come to this show for.
Who's the female? Who's 80s. The girl? Didn't she turn into something? Was that like
the girl? The younger girl was Alyssa Milano.
Yeah. Okay.
The main cast was in all 196 episodes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then you've got Golden Girls, which
that was
after
actually
B.
pretty
Arthur
good, though, right? Wasn't Golden Girls?
Golden Girls was great.
Yeah, Golden Girls was
Golden Girls was legitimately good. Yeah. But when B. Arthur left after they did like 7 seasons or something, they decided to spin it off into a show where all of them run a hotel.
Okay, sounds good.
And it's called Golden Palace, and it's about they somehow become the owners of a hotel in Miami that they now have to run, and Don Cheadle's actually in it.
Don Cheadle, really? Wow.
Yeah, it's one of his first roles.
It's a one-season thing, I would expect.
I think so. I think maybe 2.
It's like Joey. The Joey spinoff of Friends. Well, while you look that up, I'll wrap up stuff here. We're done. Thank you for listening to our Lower Decks and random sitcoms.
Yes, one season.
One season. Random sitcoms of
One
the
season,
80s trivia. We're looking for our next show, next big inspiration. But let us know what you thought about Lower Decks. I'm just on Lower Decks. It's fine. I'm honestly, we're in the season 4 of Enterprise now. I'm actually more interested when the Enterprise episodes come up. Like, I'm more interested in what the Enterprise episodes could be than what Lower Decks ever turns out to be. Mostly because we're in the middle of that, it's not to spoil anything, but we had a lot of thoughts about the Soong and Augment arc. But I felt at least there was something there, even if it wasn't a rip-roaring success, Mm-hmm. We'll see.
Yeah, I've been enjoying Lower Decks. It's
I think you're more positive on it than I am.
Yeah, I think it's doing well what it's supposed to do. Like
I would agree.
It's a half hour. Yeah, it's a half-hour show that I can watch and get a couple chuckles out of while I eat dinner.
Yes.
And my girlfriend really likes it. She likes it a lot.
Yeah.
I think because it does tend to have a more positive spin at the end of the stories.
Well, this is interesting. I sit down. Maybe I should eat dinner or something while doing this, but like I sit down and I watch it. I'm not to say that you're not watching it, but you have it on as kind of like something that's on as you're doing something else. You know what I mean? Like I'm sitting there and like intent on it, and I wonder if that's a difference. I wonder if you're supposed to watch this while eating dinner. You know what I mean? If it's that kind of a thing, just maybe I'll give it a whirl. Order a pizza, watch Lower Decks, and come back on and say it's the greatest thing ever.
I don't care what you made for dinner, honey. I'm getting a pizza. It's Lower Decks night.
Kids, come sit down, watch this show. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, I guess maybe that the final thought is that's the problem with it. Like, if I'm trying to turn Lower Decks into a show that works well on this podcast, it probably doesn't fit that mold. I don't know if it's meant for that kind of critical analysis. I hit the keyboard there accidentally, got very scared. We stopped recording, but it seems to still be working. I guess that's fair. I don't think the show is bad. I don't know if it's for me, really, all that much,
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Who's the boss? Martin Cohen, Blake Hunter created it, 1984. Thank you very much.
Wow, I'm surprised. Those are 2 names that I haven't heard.
Yeah, you think
I'm sure they've done other stuff, but
they're probably billionaires from Who's the Boss mind.
I know. Yeah. Do you know who wrote the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theme song?
Bob Dylan.
Chuck Lorre.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Well,
creator of Cougar Town and
2.5 Men.
What's the other? 2.5 Men. Yeah.
Well, that's
sitcom emperor Chuck Lorre.
Well, that's where the Friends people, the Friends creators, get the credits for creating the show, and they also wrote the song for it. They just raked in money from anything they did with that show.
Did they design the font too?
What if we take Comic Sans but make it edgier? They might have. I mean, that's
put some different colored dots in between all the letters.
That's just crazy amounts of money that those guys made.
Yeah.
So good for them. That's it. Thank you very much for listening to our coverage of Lower Decks. We'll be back with more Enterprise. Patreon.com/ThePensky if you want to support the show there. Clay, do you have anything you want to say before we go?
If I was that successful at any one thing, you probably would never hear from me ever again.
At writing jingles or just like creating TV shows?
If I was one of the creators of Friends.
Yeah.
What else?
Oh, you mean professionally?
What am I gonna...
Like not in the context of the podcast, but like you would never continue doing anything else after that, you mean?
No, like what am I going to do? Another show?
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. For what? I just created the one of the most successful shows in the history of television. What the hell am I going to do next?
Well, that's the as I'm getting older and parents are getting older and everything like that, people are getting into retirement age. The one thing that I find more terrifying than anything is people who don't want to retire because they don't know what they would do with themselves, which I find insane that you have no hobby or anything that you would want to do full time. You don't even have to do it. You'd be retired. You'd be like, I want to go fishing today. That's all I want to do. Why don't you go do that?
Yeah.
I just know numerous people our parents' age who are just like, what, am I not going to work? Am I not going to fill in papers all day? It's like, go read a book. Go do something else.
Yeah. Go listen to Rotten Horror Picture Show. We just covered Phantasm.
Yeah.
Which is a movie I do not like. That's a fun listen.
And you've watched it 5 times, so you're sure that you don't like it at this point.
I've only watched it 3 times, and if you've listened to the episode, I will say since the recording of the episode, I have since watched Phantasm 2. Also not good.
Okay.
So I've seen all of them, and I just don't care for that series at all.
Just jump to the end.
Series.
The last one came out in like 2016 or something, right? Same guy.
Yeah. It's the amount of continuity on display in that series is actually kind of shocking. And so much of it is all messed up and weird because of rights issues and stuff. Like the reason that part 2 is never streaming anywhere is because it's owned by Universal, I think. And the other ones are all owned by a smaller distribution company, I think.
Yeah.
And so even in part 3, like they recast everything. Like they recast the kid. In part 2 they recast the kid, and in part 3 they recast him again with the original kid because part 2 Universal didn't want the original kid.
Oh.
And so like it's all that kind of bullshit. And, like they use some footage, but they can't use all the footage. It's all that kind of shit. So it's just a great film franchise that I really enjoy.
Written by Chuck Lorre.
Written by Chuck Lorre, yes. One franchise that I do actually really enjoy is Friday the 13th, which we are covering on Patreon, Amanda and myself.
Yep.
And with October coming up, I think we're going to do some. I think I haven't told her this yet, but I think we might do like a live stream coverage of Halloween Kills, which comes out, I think, the 13th, I think.
Oh, this is the new movie. Yeah.
Yeah, the 15th or something like that. Because I don't think it's going to end up on our list. So I figured, well, we watched the last one. What the hell? Let's do a live stream and talk about it or something.
Sure. And for the Patreon, I'm sure it'll be Halloween-themed stuff. So if you guys are interested in even more Halloween stuff, you can't get enough stuff in October that's about Halloween, you can go to the Patreon as well. We were talking about Discord, I'll probably release last year's Halloween Patreon stuff because it's been a year, and we might as well just throw it out on the channel so you guys can look forward to that too. It would be the Platform we did, which is a Spanish horror sci-fi movie, and then Genesis. We covered Genesis with TNG's Genesis with Amanda. She came on for that one.
Right. That's right. We did.
Yep. So I'll release those, and then there'll be new Halloween content. That's it. We're done. Patreon.com/ThePensic if you want to support the show. Otherwise, we're done. Lower Decks, Enterprise continue. Enterprise will soon be taking on every single week after we're done with Lower Decks in the next 2 episodes. So thank you very much, everybody, for listening. We'll see you later.